For the person everyone thinks is fine, this one is for you. Maybe you are not overthinking. Maybe you are finally paying attention. People love to call things overthinking, as if your mind is some dramatic enemy, as if your heart is just being difficult, as if the discomfort means something is wrong with you. But sometimes overthinking is not anxiety, it is awareness arriving late. It is your body trying to explain what your mouth keeps refusing to say. It is the conversation you keep replaying because something in it did not feel safe, even if you smiled through it. It is the relationship you keep defending while your nervous system keeps voting no. It is the decision you are trying to force because it looks right on paper but feels wrong in your chest. It is not always fear. Sometimes it is truth with nowhere to go. A lot of people are not bad at decisions. They are just very skilled at abandoning themselves. You call it confusion, but often it is conflict between what you know and what would be convenient to pretend not to know. That is exhausting because now your mind becomes a courtroom. Evidence is everywhere. No verdict, no peace. You replay messages, tone, timing, silence, energy, tiny things, because tiny things are rarely tiny when your body is trying to protect you. People say, stop thinking so much, but that advice is useless when the thinking is not random. It is a signal. The problem is not that you think too much. The problem is that you keep receiving truth and trying to negotiate with it. You knew they were emotionally unavailable the first month, but loneliness is persuasive. You knew that job was wrong for you before you accepted it, but validation can be louder than intuition. You knew you had outgrown that version of your life before your body started begging for change, but familiarity is seductive. Clarity rarely arrives as peace. At first, it feels like discomfort because truth interrupts performance. That is why people stay confused. Confusion feels safer because clarity demands action. Once you know, you cannot unknow. Once you admit it, you cannot comfortably keep pretending. And that is terrifying because now you must decide, stay or leave, speak or keep performing, choose peace or choose approval, become honest or stay convenient. That is why people call clarity anxiety, because truth is expensive. Sometimes you are not anxious. You are standing at the edge of a life you know you cannot keep living, and your body knows it first. That heaviness, that restlessness, that strange sadness you cannot explain. Sometimes that is grief for a version of you that is ending. Sometimes overthinking is mourning. You are grieving the relationship you know is emotionally over before it is officially over. You are grieving the dream you worked so hard for because now you realize it is not actually yours. You are grieving the person you had to become to survive because survival is no longer enough. That deserves tenderness, not self-criticism. Listen carefully. Your intuition is rarely loud. It is usually quiet, repetitive, slightly inconvenient, and impossible to fully ignore. It sounds like, this keeps bothering me. I don't feel like myself here. Why do I feel relief when they cancel? Why does success still feel empty? Why do I feel guilty when I rest? These are not small thoughts. These are doors. And most people spend years trying not to open them because clarity changes things. But life changes anyway. The question is not, will truth arrive? It will. The question is, will you listen early or wait until your body has to scream? Because ignored truth does not disappear. It becomes tension, burnout, resentment, distance, numbness, exhaustion, self betrayal. Your body keeps score even when your life still looks impressive. So, what do? Not panic, not dramatic decisions at 2 a.m. First, stillness. You need enough silence to hear yourself. Not social media silence, real silence. No performance, no distraction, no constant input, just honesty. Ask better questions. Not what should I do, but what am I pretending not to know? Not how do I fix this, but what truth am I delaying? Not why am I overthinking, but what keeps returning because it matters. That changes everything because now you are not fighting yourself, you are listening, and listening is where self trust begins. You do not need perfect certainty, you need honesty. Small, honest steps. That is enough. Reply later, leave earlier, say no faster. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Trust the pause, trust the body, trust the relief that follows truth. Peace does not always feel like happiness first. Sometimes it feels like grief because freedom often begins with loss. That does not mean you are making the wrong choice. Sometimes it means you are finally making your own choice. Tomorrow we talk about why some people do not actually miss you. They miss your usefulness and why that truth can hurt and free you at the same time. If today felt personal, tomorrow will too. Maybe you are not difficult. Maybe you are not dramatic. Maybe you are simply noticing what your soul can no longer tolerate. That is not weakness. That is awakening. I believe in you. Trust what keeps returning. I'll be here.